Little Red Riding Hood. How Little Red Riding Hood loved her grandma. She was the nicest grandma in the world. She smelled like flowers and chocolates, and when she gave cuddles, it was like the entire planet wrapped around you and made you safe and warm. Little Red Riding Hood would have liked to live with Grandma. But Grandma had her own house on the other side of the garden. Little Red Riding Hood loved visiting Grandma at her little house. They would have orange juice and little cakes that Grandma would bake with honey and sprinkles. She had pictures in frames of Little Red Riding Hood and her parents, school pictures and home pictures, pictures at wedding and special occasions. Little Red Riding Hood would cross the garden every day to go and see her grandma. One day, as she was leaving, her mother asked her to take some vegetables to Grandma in a basket. Grandma would make a nice soup with them. So Little Red Riding Hood took the basket of vegetables and skipped through the garden to Grandma's house. The poppies were out and the lavender. The sun shone everywhere and it was so very pretty. But when Little Red Riding Hood skipped around the tea tree bushes, she ran headlong into the big slobbery dog Oscar, who lived next to door. "Hero," said Oscar. With his big rubbery lips, he spoke like this. "Where are you going, little girl?" "I'm taking some vegetables to Grandma's house," said Little Red Riding Hood, and we're going to have cakes and orange juice." "Grandma's house?" slobbered Oscar enthusiastically. "That one over there." "Yes, that one," said Little Red Riding Hood, and she pointed it out, the little cottage at the end of her garden, with the sunlight falling on it and making everything lovely and yellow. "Look, squirrel!" barked Oscar, and Little Red Riding Hood looked behind her. She would have liked to see a fluffy, friendly little squirrel, but she couldn't see any squirrel anywhere in the garden, and when she turned to look again, Oscar was gone. No matter. Little Red Riding Hood resumed her walk to Grandma's. Although Grandma was only at the bottom of her garden, it took her a long time because Little Red Riding Hood liked to stop so often along the way, smelling the lovely roses and jasmine and picking up pretty little stones she saw on the path. Eventually, she got to Grandma's house, and when she knocked at the door, she was surprised to hear Grandma's voice, a little hoarse, say, "I'm ill in bed, child. Just push the door open and come on inside." Little Red Riding Hood believed in being helpful, so she put the basket down and pushed the door herself. Then she picked the basket back up again and in she wandered. All the curtains were drawn. Grandma was in bed. Little Red Riding Hood could see the broad shape of her under the pink blankets. "Come closer," said the husky voice, and so Little Red Riding Hood did. Once she got to Grandma, she was quite surprised. Grandma looked very different to how she had just yesterday. What big eyes you have, Grandma. What a hairy face you have, Grandma. What big teeth you have, Grandma. At that moment, Grandma walked in the back door. Oscar, she scolded, get out of my bed and out of my clothes, dirty dog. Oscar looked very sorry. I just wanted some of Little Red Riding Hood's cake, he said. Oh, you silly old dog, said Little Red Riding Hood. I'm bringing vegetables, silly. It's Grandma who has the cake. And indeed she did. It was warm in the oven and waiting for them. Grandma, Little Red Riding Hood, and Oscar shared them all, and there was not one left.